Gentlemen, welcome to another Europe Talk.
Hello,
Hello Dante.
we're back.
Oh, nice to have you, man. It's always good to speak to you. Uh,
So
welcome.
long, like almost 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Now, for those that don't know, me and Dante have a podcast every Saturday on Forum Godfuken and on Twitch, um, where we discuss the week's news. So much like the Europe Talk, except it's just us two usually. But this time, of course, we're going to invite everyone who wants to speak and who can speak
And
to give
hopefully
their.
it's not going to bug out like last time.
No. It
So,
should be okay. You know. I think last Thursday, Reddit's talk service kind of went down in the middle of our chat, so we couldn't close the chat, and it was we could only invite one person though, which was Liggett, our good Russian friend. Uh, we had a great conversation with, by the way. But we're gonna try to do better today. So
yeah, and since we already had yesterday quite a, like, we gave our opinion on stuff, I think we are going to give a brief overview
yeah,
and then let the floor to anyone who wants to join us.
exactly. You know, this is not about us. This is about the audience. You know what they want to say. So it'll be super interesting. Um, Let me. I've written for once. I've actually done some pre work. You know, some preparation. So I can read you my little blurb, and then we can go from there. How about it?
We are professionals,
Yeah.
so go ahead.
Professionals at shitposting, I think. Right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, today is day 4 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We've seen great tragedy on our doorsteps and have been shocked awake by the images and news of a new war in Europe. Kiev and Ukraine are fighting for their freedom. Russia is internationally isolated, and the EU and NATO are coming together as never before to protect our European values and support our Ukrainian brothers. Um, a summary of the news so far this week. Russia attacked Ukraine on Thursday, hoping for a quick blitzkrieg victory on Kiev, Donbas Oblast, and Crimea. Ukrainians made this an impossibility with their ceaseless courage and perseverance in the face of the unprovoked war foisted on them by Putin's madness. Europe stepped up to the plate to help Ukrainians. Whether it's accepting refugees, delivering humanitarian aid or weapons, the EU has come together in solidarity to reject Putin's plans for Ukraine. To highlight some positive developments this week, in the last 24 hours in particular, we've seen that with the all-out attack of Russia being blunted by European weapons in the hands of Ukrainian fighters, Russia has agreed to negotiations with the Ukrainians. The EU has, after lengthy discussion and pressure on members, enacted devastating sanctions on Putin's regime and Russia's banks by triggering SWIFT, finally. Germany has stepped away from its pacifist stance, committing 100 billion euros to strengthening its defense, as well as shipping weapons to Ukraine. Switzerland has indicated it might sanction Russia. Sweden has abandoned its neutral stance and is delivering weapons to Ukraine. Both Finland and Sweden have indicated interest in joining NATO. The EU has imposed restrictions on air traffic to from Russia and to Russia. And protests have started to appear on the Russian streets. But not all is well yet. Russia has upped its nuclear readiness, and the USA is reportedly at DEFCON 2, something not seen even in the time of 9/11. Kiev is surrounded, according to its mayor, and fighting rages on throughout the Ukrainian countryside in villages and in towns. Chechen militias have entered the country, and there's much fear under the civilian population. And night is falling, and the war continues. Today we'll be talking about Ukraine, the EU, and NATO's response. And as always, I ask everyone to be respectful, polite, and to stick to the subs as well as Reddit's content rules when discussing such an emotive subject. So yeah, that's uh,
Yeah,
that's uh,
so
that's what I had to say. You know. Um, so I mean,
can we just take a second?
mm,
Not even the Nazis were able to get the Swiss against them.
yeah, I know,
So
right? And imagine being such an evil bastard, right? That you actually get Germany to rearm, right?
Yeah,
And I mean, they, as everyone knows, NATO has a commitment to 2% spending of its members on 2% of GDP spending for its members on defense. Germany was nowhere near that, and I think everyone kind of planned for it to be done by 2035, maybe, you know. But Germany has now committed to doing it in 2 years. So that will set things that will set things quite, you know. It's been a sea change. It's been a watershed moment for Germany, to be honest.
which, by the way, something that we all know that Germany is not like spending a lot, or it's not like the big military that was once was. But even now, with its relatively low spending, in absolute numbers, it's quite the same. Almost, I think it's a bit more than France, or a bit less. I can't remember. It's
Mm,
quite almost the same.
yeah.
So if they ramp up that much, it's going to be quite a lot.
Mm,
Then, as you were saying earlier, Europe has started from today. Germany started sending weapons to
yeah.
Ukraine, anti-tank weapons and
Mm,
anti-air, and the rest of the EU is going to follow suit.
yeah.
So I
Thanks.
think the
Yeah.
EU has done a bit more than, like, other than full on actually waging war with Russia. We are doing almost everything that you could ask for to
Yeah.
some degree. And I wasn't fully expecting this either. Like, we had the talk on Thursday.
Mm.
We didn't expect this much, to be honest. Like, maybe we were a bit too much pessimistic about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we're all old, man. We've seen too much shit, to be optimistic. I think that's it. I
but
mean, um,
to be fair, we were maybe uh, we are used to normal times. So in normal times, it's stuff that you would not ever see, but these are not normal times. So what stuff that would be impossible to imagine, now it's happening.
yeah.
Like when it comes to Swift, that's a huge one. For
Mm.
example, we will see the effects of that, but I don't think the Russian economy is going to do great
Yeah, true, true,
coming
true.
days.
I think tomorrow, right? I mean, it's Sunday night now, and tomorrow morning the stock markets open again in Moscow. I think we're gonna see people jumping out of windows. Basically,
Yeah,
it's going to be very very it's going to be a heinous day for the Russian economy tomorrow. We've
and
already
on
seen
the
it run on the banks now, starting. So,
military side as well, if you think,
yeah,
like, Ukraine is doing quite well,
yeah,
equipping them with even more armament, more weapons, anti-air, anti-tank and stuff.
yeah,
That's going to help for sure.
yeah, definitely. Um,
So
another bit of news which I forgot to mention in my little blurb is that the EU is actually going to ship weapons to Ukraine through the member states. So there will be the EU has a pot of money which it's setting aside to reimburse members for sending weapons to Ukraine.
yeah,
This is something completely new, right? This is
yeah, it's started. It was today. It's
yeah,
quite. I mean, the developments, as quite obviously, are quite changing quite fast.
yeah.
But in all of the ugliness of this war,
Mm.
there are some positive news.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, we shouldn't forget, that despite all this news and stuff, at the moment um, people are still dying in Ukraine. It's not a static situation. This is still going on right now. People are fighting in the streets right now. And I think,
Yeah,
we when we think about something like this, and we talk about the positives, it's always with that, and like I said on Thursday, this has really shocked us all. I think. I mean, that Germany has stepped away from its pacifist stance is already, an indication that this has affected everyone really deeply in the last 4 days. And I mean, I looked at Schultz's thingy, his speech, that was, it was something. So sorry, I've got my kids here with me, so they're having. I've also invited a Grey Wolf, by the way. Welcome, Grey Wolf. Nice to have you again, man.
Great profile picture there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Illegal in Russia, but not here.
Yeah, looking good, man.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
how are you doing, man? It's been quite a week, hasn't it?
Yeah, not just with Russia, but I'm going through some personal stuff as well, which I
Mm,
DM'd you privately about looking for advice.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I haven't been on the internet much the past day or
maybe
2 days.
maybe that's a good thing because it's not pretty, you know.
Yeah.
Something like that can really depress you, and I think I mean, when I went to bed on well, let's say Friday morning, right? Because I was awake for about 24 hours because of the what was going on. The
Hmm.
next day I was just worthless. Something like this, you know,
Yeah.
it might be the best thing to step away from the internet for a few days. Then you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
but I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
I'm glad you can help us with the subject. I
I'll
mean, what
grant
do
you my
you?
expertise.
Yeah, of course, your total expertise. I mean, as an Irish person, right?
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on this? I mean, Ireland has traditionally also been very neutral,
Hmm.
reticent to kind of step into NATO, step into PESCO and things like that because of that neutrality. What are your thoughts on this?
Um, Russia bad, Ukraine good.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't really.
Even
It's fairly black and white at the moment. In my,
yeah,
Ireland's neutral, in terms of weapons wise and army wise, but in terms of policy wise, we're not neutral at all.
Mm. I mean, you're part of the EU, and the EU basically came together and threw
Yeah,
Russia out of SWIFT. So that says something. I mean, the Irish aren't standing on the sidelines, as it were. But
yeah. We've banned Russian airplanes from entering our airspace. I think
hey,
yesterday.
yeah, and today the EU has done the same. So now it's universal. It's
well,
actually quite funny because you can watch the Russian jets, which are in the air, desperately try to find a way to Russia using their fuel. You know.
I saw a picture of Air India just going straight over
Yeah,
Ukraine.
yeah.
yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, that was they're like, oh, we
Leroy
don't
Jenkins,
care. It doesn't matter.
But
they're the best airline, the best, some say.
as an Irish, I think you do have a bit of a probably when it comes to the whole neutrality thing. So as we were saying earlier, being part of the EU kind of not neutral, to be honest. At least the way I look at it, we are a political union, so can't really
Yeah.
be neutral when you're
Well,
part of that.
five countries in the EU are neutral, aren't they? There's Ireland, Sweden,
Yes,
Denmark, Austria, and Denmark, Austria, and one more, I think.
but the
Maybe
thing
the other one
about
is Finland.
the thing about neutrality, at least this is my point of view, you are neutral until you're not. It's not something
That's
you can
fair.
really have much control over. And as was saying earlier, how much neutral are you really if you are part of a political union? That's
Yeah,
kind of defeats the point, I think. Like we are doing sanctions on Russia, we are removing Russia from SWIFT. That's not neutral. The Irish government, as soon as this whole thing started, they denounced Russia. They said we are not neutral on this issue.
yeah.
So
I
I,
don't know
I
if you saw the
wonder
interview.
how much
I don't
people
know if
there in Ireland even care about neutrality.
people don't want to get involved in war. They don't want to be going out to war. I think that's what their stance is in it. They don't want to be also, like, say if a war hypothetically does happen and it's a world war, they don't want Ireland to be a target. Like if you're attacking a neutral country, they're wasting arms and men. That's the thing, and that's kind of the more,
Mm,
so they don't invade.
yeah,
That's my opinion on it. Ireland wants to stay neutral. The people were very surprised about the statistics coming out where Ireland was, I think, over 50% wanting an army. So I think people were very surprised about that.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's like that whole Mike Tyson quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched.
yeah.
So in my
That
opinion,
goes doubly for Russia at the moment. By the way, just saying.
Well,
yeah,
to be fair, Ireland has a plan which is get defended by the UK.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that's
America. and
America.
America.
Yeah. I think if you
Yeah, I
touch
mean,
if you
Everywhere.
touch Ireland, you're gonna trigger Biden straight away. You know.
Yeah.
yes, but
Oh, he's a
the
great
thing
lad.
is, while the US has a cultural reason to defend Ireland,
Yeah, the UK
when it
is
comes to
more
the UK,
is strategy because Ireland is a very bad. If something
yes,
invades Ireland, it's
basically,
in a very bad position.
yeah, they can't allow anyone to invade Ireland because
Unless it's
then the
them.
UK itself would be fucked. So uh, that's the Irish strategy.
Yeah,
Just
but we all.
Yeah,
But by the way, we all know that Britain can't invade Ireland anymore. They just don't have the money. You know, it's impossible. You know.
yeah,
So
they
yeah,
don't they don't even want they don't even want Northern Ireland
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. Northern
They
Ireland, no, I
yeah,
don't need it. You know. And,
they
I
really
mean,
don't.
yeah. So thanks very much. What was her name again? Um, the Irish representative in Parliament that managed to get Brexit through. But, gosh, I
What?
forgot her name now.
which one?
Anyway, yeah, doesn't matter.
Well, well, if you remember, you'll tell us
Yeah,
later.
yeah. If I remember, I'll tell
Anyways.
you. My
Wait,
memory
wait.
is fading. You know, since I'm over 40. You know, I'm basically dead to most people on the internet. So
Yeah.
You're no, you're lovely. Well, you are a JavaScript developer, so your memory your mind was never the sharpest.
yeah, that's true. Thanks for outing me like that, man.
What do three equals mean in JavaScript? I can't remember.
Oh yeah. No, that's
Programmer's joke.
checking type as well as it's type checking, which many people think that JavaScript doesn't have. Anyway, you know, let's not go into JavaScript because oh my
Yeah,
god, you know?
let's not
There's
let's
already
not lose
Russia's already the main
everyone.
evil here.
Yeah. We don't
We
need
already have
another.
Russia making the world bad. Let's not add JavaScript. Come on.
Yeah.
So
JavaScript makes internet bad.
Yeah,
Makes
no.
web pages bad.
No.
No, JavaScript.
so
No. Hey, but I think we should invite some people to speak on the subject.
yeah,
To be
Yeah.
honest, I see that Jib60 has raised his hand, so let's get him in. Welcome, Jib. That's a nice throw you got, by the way. You're
Oh, thank you.
welcome.
Are you high right now?
No, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you everyone who's hosting this live. It's actually my first English language live, so I'm a bit excited and a bit nervous.
Go on. I mean, we're all Europeans here. You know, your English can't be. Can't, you know, we don't care, right?
Oh,
we speak European English.
Yeah.
It's the one we
Yeah.
like to. It's the one we make.
English
Don't worry.
English is my first language and I can barely speak it.
See, you know, you're in
Yeah.
good company.
Oh, that's that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, so since we're here talking about Ukraine, I want to just like point out just a few little things about your introductions. Now, apparently, Kiev is not surrounded. I know the mayor said that, but apparently it's been misinterpreted, and Kiev is apparently it's still fine and not surrounded.
You know.
So
Yeah.
I guess
for
that's
now.
a good
Let's
news.
just say
For
for
now.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what I wanted to talk about here is the Germany's rearmament, because as a French person, you know, might be surprising, but I'm really glad to hear that because it is not very well known, but the European Union has a mutual assistance clause, just like NATO. And well, if Germany is not a massive military power, well, then it would be just the French and some people who are going to defend, for instance, Finland and countries that are threatened by Russia. So I think this is very good news that Germany is now going to rearm. I don't know what's your opinion about that.
Personally, I mean, as a Dutch person, I'm starting to kind of sweat a little bit. You know. But I think Germany, you know, the support in Germany for anything to do with military was always traditionally very low. You know, I mean, historically, that's not such a so surprising, to be honest. Not such a surprise. But you know what I'm seeing right now is that because of the the kind of because Ukraine is such a big issue now. It's really shocked people into accepting a new thingy, a new world order. Really, that's what Olaf Scholz said today in his speech. Anyway, he sees this as there's a before Ukraine and there's an after Ukraine now, and I think it's a good thing. Also because Olaf Scholz also said that he would do things in a European perspective. He actually talked about European sovereignty, which is nice to hear. As a European federalist, I like sovereignty at a European level. Also, I mean, what we don't see is all the stuff that's going on behind the curtain, as it were. And I think we have a good chance of getting a more European level army than a national army as well. And I think that's really important. So I'm hopeful that for Germany, this is actually a moment to shine, as it were, within the European project. So I mean,
but it's still important for people to know, because you say that, but meanwhile I know, I have sources, you already hidden your bike.
Yeah, that's
since
true.
you started to know the Germans are coming for them again.
Yeah.
So
I've started to buy extra bike locks and stuff like that, because if the Germany rearms, a lot of people in Europe are starting to get that sweat. On the other hand, right? Can you imagine how good it would be to be able to say to someone, if you don't behave, we're sending the Germans in, I mean,
I just can't wait to brag to America about our army for once.
Yeah, but I mean, Ireland has its fisherman fleet, so we don't really have to worry.
That is very true.
Yeah,
we have so much. Who needs an army? We have this level of soft power.
And I just want to remember people, when it comes to the Navy, we have the Romanians, which with a ship full of ships managed to sink a Russian spy vessel. So just a few years ago.
That is actually a thing,
yeah, see, that was a thing. So if we do this European army, I think
we're unbeatable, guys. We're unbeatable. I think that's the coup. But I mean, as a French person, right? I got a question for you now.
Okay.
The elections in France are coming up now, right?
Yep.
What is this doing to Macron's popularity at home?
Well, currently I have no idea. We don't really have much return here. I mean, or maybe I just didn't look for it because the crisis in Ukraine is occupying so much of the media space that we're not really talking about it. But there's one thing to raise, that Macron is not even a candidate yet. In the election.
He has 7 days left, I think, or something like that.
Well, yeah, something like that. And this is really he was saying that he just wanted to get the crisis in Ukraine over with before he's a candidate, but he's not going to have any possibility to not be a candidate, and probably he's going to have to declare himself very soon, because he's the favorite. It wouldn't make sense for him not to run in the presidential election. But this crisis is just reinforcing Europe, and one of Macron's main program was the European Union. It's probably the only candidate that has this kind of Europhile tendencies, and most of its competitors are Euroscepticals, Zemmour, who's the racist candidate, and Le Pen, who is all the racist candidates.
Well, she pretends she's not, she pretends she's not, but we all know where her family comes from, guys,
How many of the other candidates have had sex with their own teacher, though? That's the real question.
That's that's a plus, though, in France.
Yeah, that's a plus in French society, isn't it? So
that's interesting. I mean, but it's still basically too early to tell.
But Macron, he's still very much the front runner in this election. For now, he's 10 points ahead of everyone.
Ah, wonderful.
So we can't really see
anyone.
As far as
understanding there, at least media was a bit going against him because he's not he has not been in any interview or talk or debate since he was using first the COVID crisis, then the Ukraine crisis before the war, and now there's the war. So I think this might actually help him. Obviously, the
Yeah, I
part of
agree.
we need Europe, but there is the other part where he doesn't have to even go to debates and stuff. So he doesn't have a way to fuck himself. Say this.
Exactly.
So he can't really
Exactly.
do damage to himself since no one expects him to go have debates on TV while there is a war in Europe. So no, it's not like anyone is going to complain about that. I think
From
Macron has quite sure victory. It's a bit saying sure. It's a bit much maybe, but an easy road, let's say.
Yeah, but the thing is with French politics is that like a French president is almost guaranteed to be hated as long as he does something. That's just how it works. Like Macron,
I saw the Spider-Man
yellow
meme.
vest protest for ages. Like the French will never be happy about their president and their candidate. I mean, you have this. I don't know what the pollings are in the US about like Biden, but it's seen as a very unpopular president, where it's sitting at 35% approval rate. But that would be an unheard of approval rating for French president.
Especially for a president in his second term, of course.
It'd be the same in Ireland. Like in Ireland, no matter who you are, we are going to hate you.
You guys have a bit of a difference. Both the French and the Irish, as far as I know, you start hating them kind of as soon as they get in power. Like Macron, as soon as he started, he was already hated quite by most people. Meanwhile, other countries like Italy, we like to have the honeymoon phase. We get someone new who is going to fix everything. Then, at the start we have the promises and the dreams. Then they actually start doing stuff, and everyone gets mad, and then we start looking for a new government.
Ireland's elections are different. We don't have our president is just a figurehead. Our real main leader of the country is our Taoiseach, which is Irish for prime minister, and they're not elected like you vote for that person. Whichever government, whichever political party wins that year, whoever is the head of that party goes becomes the prime minister or Taoiseach.
Yeah, no. See that you are saying that as like almost like you don't have as much say in that. But meanwhile, in Italy, we don't even have people that are part of any party.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ireland is not part of any party.
I think Ireland is one of the most democratic countries in the world. I think it scored one of the highest in Europe, along with the Nordic countries.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the Netherlands, I must say, Italy has elections, but then they don't matter. They just choose a technocrat to do it for them.
Yeah, we have a democratic technocracy. Yeah. We have technocrats in government and democracy voting those laws. Yeah. I think it's the perfect system.
But I'd like to just thank Jib60 for joining us. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jib60.
Thank you, everyone.
Much appreciated. I'm going to invite someone else. Let's see. I am going to invite X-Robot X. X-Robot X, are you there? You've been hanging on for a while. Welcome.
Sounds like a porn site.
Yeah, well, no, he's actually a Ukraine mod. So r/Ukraine mod. So welcome.
Yeah. Hey.
Hello.
You've been listening to our discussion. What are your thoughts? What would you like to say?
Oh, it's quite a sore topic. There's quite a lot to say. I actually raised the hand because I wanted to add a little bit of a correction. Kyiv is surrounded by security checkpoints installed by the Ukrainian armed forces.
Okay.
It is set up to deter the saboteurs and the reconnaissance units that are operating or trying to penetrate the city. It's been a bit of a heavy situation there to deal with them, but they now have the I'm not sure what it's called in English, the restrictions that you're not allowed to come out on the streets.
The curfew.
The curfew, correct. Yeah. That's the word. Yeah. So the curfew. So it is surrounded by the security checkpoints.
So that's
So,
at least there's at least some security for some food security for the city. I hope then through those checkpoints and.
Um, Yes, they are set up by the Ukrainian armed forces. So
Wonderful,
of course
yeah.
they let people through. So this is not the occupants' security checkpoints.
Yeah.
It is ours.
Yes,
And,
thank God for that. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
we've been watching this unfold, and I mean, as our Ukraine mod, I mean, are you Ukrainian yourself?
I am indeed.
Okay, that's very cool. So first of all, Slava Ukraini, right?
Heroям slava.
Yeah. Sorry for my pronunciation. You'll have to forgive
That was
me.
very good.
You know. Secondly, I mean, as the situation stands now, with Europe piling on the pressure on Russia and with Ukraine defending itself so incredibly well, what are your thoughts on this situation right now?
I think that Ukraine have managed to unite Europe like never before.
I agree.
So this to me this is a massive positive thing. I do believe that we all belong into a single European family. We should be all one. All should be one.
Yeah.
So what we couldn't do for the past how many years, it has brought everybody together. And I think this is the biggest and the best thing that so far happened from this conflict. I can only hope that it will keep bringing people more together. And the other thing I was just saying to a friend of mine who's been living in the occupied territory since the conflict unfolded in 2014. I said that what Ukraine is doing right now is doing a heavy export of Ukrainian culture.
So. Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think 3 weeks ago. I mean, I'm a news nerd, so I love to follow the news. So I was aware of the negotiations. I was aware of Vladimir Putin's stance on this. On the negotiations stuff, but not many people really took notice. You know, it was if I look at for example the Dutch news, you know, it was a page 3 story, you know, page 4 story. But now, you know, Ukraine is front and center in everyone's perspective, I think, you know, and I mean it's hard to say because you know we're all on the internet and we're all. You know, we're all plugged in more than the average person. I think when you're on Reddit or when you're when you have that the perspective of a young metropolitan European. I don't know how to say it, but you know I think you know we have like you said this is our big chance, right? This is our big chance to not only showcase you know. Ukraine and maybe even you know I mean what made me so hopeful this week was the protests in Russia just spontaneously coming out, you know, and the shock that people had. I think you know that at least is a little bit of hope. I mean you know like I said in the intro, I mean people are dying on the streets right now, right?
Yes.
And you know for this to happen in Europe, this is a big change, you know, to everyone's mentality. You know, I think everyone, you know, with all the focus going to Ukraine at the moment, I think everyone is really hopeful that you know this will come to a swift end, you know, in Ukraine's favor, obviously. You know, I mean, what are you? I mean, because you live, do you live in Ukraine itself?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I haven't for quite many years actually.
Yeah. But there's a wide Ukrainian diaspora already in Europe, you know, also in America, by the way. You know, so as someone who's connected to this, and what are your thoughts on you know what would you like to see in the coming days?
Well, of course, I would like to for the conflict to end, and as you said, in the Ukrainian favor. And I think that I generally do not see this as a very long continuing conflict like it was in 2014 with the breakaway territories.
Yeah.
I think because it's so intense right now, and I think Putin have put a lot of stake on a swift victory, which have been stopped. So far, he has not achieved any of his targets, if we were to believe the intel. So I do hope that I mean we keeping an eye and a hand on what's actually happening on the ground right now.
Yeah.
The Russian military is demoralized. Their supply lines are failing. They are hungry. They don't have any fuel to resupply their
Yeah.
equipment. They're dropping it everywhere. It's littered. That garbage is now everywhere.
Oh my God. I mean that is actually really hopeful to me, because I mean, we've heard reports of abandoned armor vehicles. We've heard reports of Russian soldiers being captured en masse. Basically just giving up because they don't have.
Yes,
they don't have anything, do they?
No. Only a few years ago, there was this. I suppose understanding or belief amongst majority of the world, or at least European leaders, is that Russia had the world's second best army, and now they all the masks are off, and we are seeing what they actually are. They have poor equipment, poorly trained soldiers, brainwashed soldiers, and they can't. Yeah, as kids, completely being lied to and thrown into a meat grinder.
Yeah.
For Ukrainians, we have nowhere to go. We have nothing to lose.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is such a miscalculation at the highest level, basically. I mean,
yes.
It almost seems like it's like Putin really did expect the Ukraine to just roll over. I mean, on the second day, he even asked the Ukrainians army to turn on President Zelensky, right? And I was like, have you actually seen what's been going on, right, in Ukraine? No one's gonna give up, mate.
That's another. I have a friend in Germany who have sent me a message while I was driving, and he said, "Oh, there's going to be negotiations."
Yeah.
What fucking negotiations?
Are you talking about the peace talks currently?
Hmm?
When you say negotiations, are you talking about the current peace talks that are happening?
The farce. I wouldn't call it the peace talk.
I agree. I was going to ask you what would you demand? What would you expect to be an acceptable treaty? But I don't think there's anything that Russia will offer to be acceptable.
Well, it will be exactly the same. What they offered to NATO is to roll back to 1997, pull back everything. Like, what the fuck are we actually talking about? This is just a farce.
Yeah.
This is just
a.
I find it
not serious.
I find it particularly interesting that the Russians wanted to negotiate in Belarus, right? Where they're firing weapons, where they're firing Iskander missiles from at the moment, and whose soldiers are actually aiding and abetting the Russians, by either by logistical support or direct support. I was like, not a good idea for President Zelensky to go to Belarus at the moment, And he basically a few minutes later he tweeted like, no, I'm not going to do this, man. We've given the Russians a list of places where we'd like to negotiate. But I'm not going to Belarus,
just today they had a referendum in Belarus asking if Belarus is okay with being allowing nuclear weapons from Russia there and be pretty much under Russian rule. And Lukashenko gets to be in power till 2035, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and we know how much that referendum is going to be
really
democratic and fair. I'm sure
we won't know the number, will we?
I'm pretty sure like there's going to be yes or yes.
It's like I'm waiting for the 86%, the typical 86% of Russia.
The yeses have it by 110%.
I laugh about it, but I laugh in tragedy. Let's be honest.
It is tragic.
It is such a tragic situation.
Tragic.
And, one made by, like I said, a madman. This is a mad war. It's based in a discriminatory context where Ukrainians are seen as less than Russian, basically. in all ways, and it's denying a whole country, it's an existing country,
Sovereignty.
its sovereignty, and I mean, when this all started on Thursday, I was baffled. I was really baffled how someone could, of Putin's stature, could be pulled into such a rage, such a that was just unseemly of a world leader, the way that he conducted himself on TV.
At one point you start to begin to believe in your own lies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something a bit different. So you have probably somewhat of a different point of view on this issue. What do you think about the European response to all of this? The SWIFT thing that at the start it was off the table. Now Europe is doing that. Military aid, now Europe is doing that. Do you think where we are now, the EU is doing enough? Do you think, would you like the EU to do more? Like, I know, like, I would imagine if you are in Russia, you have like family in Russia, in Ukraine. If you have someone there and Russians are coming to the city, you don't care too much. So you would like just an army coming and help you, I would imagine. So how do people look at what Europe is doing?
I think people have, I think majority of people were quite skeptical, given what the response was in 2014. But I just want to to digress just a little bit before I answer your question, because I think it's a part of that question. In 2014, Russia has managed to win the information war, and they have set the narrative, and Europe have believed that, I think, quite significantly. So the impact from the information war part of it was very well executed. Their propaganda have worked. Now today they have catastrophically lost the information war. What US has learned and that Europe has learned from 2014, and how they handled the whole situation, and the preliminary release of intel have completely disarmed Russia. It has, and their denial made it extremely clear that we are dealing with a bunch of liars. So the response that the Ukrainians, I think, were expecting was nothing on the scale that we have received. And I'm extremely grateful, and I'm very surprised that it has been so rapid and so strong. I understand that Europe will not send the troops in, and this is our war. We have gotten independence for free, and now we have to earn it. And I think this will be a very necessary vaccination against populism, and this is the birth of the nation.
Yeah.
So extremely grateful what Europe has done for Ukraine. I think you guys doing more than enough. Very grateful, and especially the now news coming out that volunteer regiments are allowed to join the war. And I think this indicates the key point in this war is that Europe sees this as a security threat. This war is not a war of Ukraine. This is the war of the civilized world versus barbarians.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
I just like to just quickly interject that you said that NATO is not sending troops. Well, we do, that we know of.
That's actually an interesting point, because I was talking to a colleague at work, and I said that if you look how Zelensky holds himself on the TV, and given that he's on the kill list #1, he feels rather secure.
Yeah.
And if we look at the statement that Joe Biden has done, that they're willing to evacuate him, I do believe that there are some reassurances.
I think so
reassurances.
Too. Yeah.
Yes, that
you mean some green men?
Yes,
exactly.
I think there's some holiday makers potentially from the UK and the US who are well trained.
Yeah.
in deterring.
They're just, you know, especially the Polish, you know, the Polish holidaymakers, you know.
I mean, I like to go on track.
Yeah.
I
With
was
John Wick.
just, you know, I was just saying to the same colleague. I said, you know what? If I had to guess that who would be the best people and the most motivated people to come, would be Polish and their Grom team.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that you know, we don't know and we won't know, but I do believe that there are more than we know that's happening on the ground.
Yeah, I think so. And I must say that Odessa is a very nice place in the springtime to visit. You know, that's
exactly.
I mean, very important to remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So are you? I mean, this as a last question for you, because we got to move on. Are you optimistic about the future?
Very.
You are very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Okay.
Yes.
I think
this
good
will.
To hear. You know, that's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for listening to me, guys.
Yeah. No worries, and you're always welcome to come back. You know, we try to do this every Sunday.
Sure.
So,
great.
You know, come
please,
visit
please
anytime.
Yeah, and please join us up for the latest news and also help out.
Yeah, exactly. Join r/Ukraine, guys. You know, it's worth it, and the memes are very strong. So.
I already am.
Yeah, thanks very much, X-Robot.
Yes, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Now that was nice, you know. It's nice to speak to someone from Ukraine. How about, you know, we speak to someone. Yeah, so do I. Shall we invite a Russian?
Yes. I see you have the same idea that I had.
Yeah. Hey, Liggett. Bonjour. Hello. Just waiting for your mic, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Hello,
yes.
Liggett. Nice of you to drop in again. You know,
yes.
for those, I just want to tell, for those that don't know or didn't listen on Thursday, Liggett was our only guest because he was very eloquent and Reddit crashed. So, you know, it's nice to have you back.
I use this.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me again. I feel like it's a privilege, you know. I click a button and then I'm invited.
Yeah, definitely. You're one of the regulars now. You can't escape.
Thanks.
What would you like to say on the subject, day 4?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree much with X-Robot, the person who spoke before.
Yeah.
One thing that is really worrying though is you can stay optimistic in this situation, of course, with Ukraine, let's say, not losing ground, but there are two things I'm really worried about.
Mm-hmm.
One is that in the Russian news they talk a lot about, let's say, Russia not yet using the full force, and that they can come to that. Yeah, you know, like full. I don't know what that means. Honestly, I'm by far not an expert in warfare, but let's say bombardment or any this sort of things, and that this option hasn't been used. It's still just the mobile groups that try to, let's say, break in and establish the control, and it's not a full fire force of the Russian army. So that's the thing number one to consider. And for us being, let's say, a bit more careful, optimistic about the whole situation.
Yeah.
The second thing is it's a different league of danger. I think it's what Putin again was vocal about today with the nuclear weapon threat, of course. And this situation is really worrying because now there is no good way out for the person, for Putin. I mean, there is no good way out. So if there is no lever on Ukraine now, right? He hasn't achieved any of the goals. Then what the negotiations are about? Exactly like the X-Robot said. What are the negotiations about? There is no lever. What do you push on? So there is no good way out for Putin to get out of the situation.
Because face is very important in Russian politics, isn't it?
Very much. You can squeeze truth. You can twist truth as much as you can, but still, I mean, it will. Some parts of the truth will break through to people, and the guy, you can see that the emotional state of the guy is really livid now, right? I mean, you can see it in the video, which really makes me I mean,
very
worry for
worried.
all of us, really.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
So I have a question. So it's been 4 days. You have, you know what happens in Russia more than us. How have people, how have been the Russian people reaction to to the war? You said on Thursday didn't look like anyone was for it. Did people change their mind? Are even more people against the war now?
Yes, a lot of people are against. So even the ones that stayed out of politics, or at least were not vocal publicly about that, they are now raising voice. All sorts of people from professional circles, let's say the professional unions, not the unions, but just kind of random unions of professional people, like actors of theater or something of that sort. They are now vocal. They send all sorts of letters to the government. So a lot of people are vocal about that, and there are spontaneous protests, which is also rare nowadays in Russia, because people are scared of the persecutions, of course. So it's really as now people are as vocal as they have been in the recent history I remember of since
Are
2011. Let's say.
Are oligarchs going against him as well?
Sorry,
Like,
could you say again?
are oligarchs going against him?
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, because as you know, I mean, Putin has, as any dictator, really, his power is depending on a few people supporting him. Oligarchs are among those people. So, and obviously, I think at least at the start, everyone was in line. When you start seeing famous people, when you start seeing oligarchs going against Putin, that means only one thing, that they think they can go against him. So that means his power is getting weaker, at least in theory. So that can be a good early sign.
Yeah, and I agree, but you would think that even the invasion to Ukraine, right, should have been, let's say, stopped, or at least they should have tried to influence the guy to not do that, because that's where they take the hit as well, right? They're all under sanctions now. Like even the private jets are not flying to the UK anymore, which I guess is bad for them, I guess.
Yes,
so even the previous step should have been something that they should have questioned Mr. Putin about, and apparently they couldn't, or they didn't.
Yeah.
The thing is, don't expect them to do anything out of their own because they care or anything along those lines. It's more a matter of before. It's business, and it's about power as well. They are rich people there having power. They're going to stay on Putin's side and until they see Putin is not going to give them the power they have. As soon as they see Putin not being able to provide that power, they're going to jump ship. So they have been there at the start because they believed in Putin and that it was going to be faster, that the EU was not going to do much about it. Now maybe they're starting to reconsider things, and hopefully if they start seeing maybe generals going against Putin, if they start seeing someone going against him, that it all starts from small things, then it grows into a bigger and bigger thing. So it might be a bit early now, but maybe it could happen. I mean, with hope.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I mean, we don't know when that point is going to be, and if that's going to be fast enough, really, to deter Putin from continuing this destructive road down this destructive road. But what were you going to say, Liget?
Yeah, I was going to say that I like the point that Dante Zek has made, in the sense that jumping the ship and people being public about like them protesting, let's say, is an interesting factor, right? And it's interesting to see who and how many people actually do that from the establishment of Russia, political establishment of Russia. And I'm sorry not to give you good news tonight, but I don't see also many of those people doing this. So, for example, we have I think about 400 MPs that all of them voted for the invasion of the Ukraine, right? Or whatever they framed it in a different, like a special operation, whatever joke. But all of them voted for that, right? And only 2 of them now were public in the social network saying, okay, we haven't voted for that
this.
exactly.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
2, I mean, even statistically, think about it, 2 out of whatever 300 something, 400 people. I mean, that's not even near enough of
Not
what
near
you would
enough, yeah.
expect.
I mean,
Yeah. So
there's kind of a rule of thumb that if you get 3.5% of the population out on the street, that's when real political change starts.
Mhm.
You know, one, it's still winter in Russia, right? So no one's going to go out on the streets without a damn good reason. And to you know, to galvanize people, I think, you know, while this was a very big shock for Europe, I'm not sure that shock has really reverberated in Russia, as it were. You know, while it's a big, you know, I mean, it is a big shock to the Russians, you know, because Russia and Ukraine are traditionally close, you know, but in Europe, you know, this is seen as, you know, the pretext to another world war. And I don't think that that has filtered through to the Russian population yet. And you know, I mean, the propaganda doesn't help either. The way that before Ukraine, I mean, I've seen the TV shows in Russia, you know, the commentary shows, and there is no let up on the propaganda, as it were, you know. So it's still a bit of a bleak situation. I'm hopeful that, you know, behind the scenes there's stuff going on that we don't know about. But you know, I mean, to me, this whole situation is such a tragedy, really, for both sides. You know.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
I want to give a bit of hope there.
Yeah.
I do think that there is. I mean, 4 days, it's not a long time if you think all things considered. Europe agreed on SWIFT only yesterday, and I think it's still not fully enabled, the ban on SWIFT. So sanctions they're not all already in place. Europe is going to send weapons. That's something that was decided today. So that's going to change what's going to happen in the next days. So I think it's a bit early for Russia to have its wake-up call. Obviously, normal people, they care more, especially like going to war against Ukraine. But since we know Russia is not necessarily a democracy right now, people in power are going to see effects on the economy, and maybe that's going to take a bit. It can't happen in just 1 day or 2 days or a week even. But maybe with time we can win that war. And when it comes to the peace talks, I think everyone agrees that at least right now it's they're bullshit. I mean, the idea to have them in Belarus, it's like the stupidest thing ever. But if they manage to get a ceasefire, to have a talk for 1 day, 2 day, whatever, even if it's just a pause, I don't think it would. Even if it's useless in it, like nothing gets resolved out of that, just gaining that time, I don't see that as a bad thing in itself. So
yeah, that can work. That can work. I think the only thing I think is that the politicians in the West, I think they should be careful about this. I mean, all of this, in my view, should be done, but it shouldn't be done as it shouldn't make big news, because that's where, you know, Mr. Putin gets irritated, and that's not good. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, we all dependent on the kind of on a whim of a guy who's just sitting there in a bunker, but that's the reality of reality. That's where we are.
Back a dog into a corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger of the situation, you know. And like I said, I mean, Russian politics is very much about face, saving face if you can. You know, if Putin isn't given a way out, and I think most European leaders do see this. So you know, I hope that behind the scenes, at least, you know, things are moving. And as Dante said, I mean, you know, things are moving fast, right? We'll have to see where it ends, man. You know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So thanks very much, Liggett. It's always a pleasure, man, to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
On. So stay
Thank you
strong
all.
and don't let the situation get you too down. Have a
Yeah.
beer later on.
Yeah. Thanks all. Have a good Sunday evening.
Okay. Well, I see that Reddit's already crashed again. So Liggett, you've done it again.
I don't know. It's not me.
No. I can't remove anyone, and I can't. It's done again. I'm gonna have to take a screenshot for the admin. Maybe like there's something on your profile or something like that.
I'll leave and rejoin. Hopefully that
Yeah.
fix
Who
it.
knows? I hope so. No, nothing helps. That's it, guys. So. Well, we've been talking for exactly an hour, so that's funny.
We reached the hour, so
well,
it got worked when it was supposed to end. So
yeah, exactly. I was gonna invite as next one Cheese with me, who looks cool according to Stian. So, but then we'll have to do that next time. Yeah. I think next week, same time, I'll be there. Don't know about Dante. Dante has work, so
we'll see. I guess.
Yeah,
So
and Grey Wolf
next
always.
Saturday.
It's always a pleasure, man.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
me too. So people, Saturday, FG Eurocast on Twitch.
Yeah.
At 10, and then Sunday at 9 here on Reddit Talk.
Yeah, exactly. And you will be able to find this Europe talk on Twitch as well. We kind of put it in there. So
yeah, we have every talk now is going to be on the FG Eurocast Twitch channel and on the Forum Gute Funk and YouTube channel.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you're going to be able to check them out there as well.
Yeah. We'll put the links
Just
in the comments. So
just to add something, it's 9 everywhere except for Ireland and the UK where it's 8.
Yeah. Well, it's actually 10 here, so
Oh, I mean start.
Oh yeah, the start. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not. It's 9 CET. So.
Oh
Yeah.
I mean, we say Rome time because it's the only time that matters.
Yeah, that's true. Amsterdam time.
Yeah, I wish it was your time. The reason why Ireland isn't that time is because the UK didn't want that.
Always torn between
Say what you want about the
them
UK
and
though.
us.
Say what you want about the UK though. They make a hell of a plug. Type G is the best. And I will fight that.
That's true.
And
that's
on
true.
that note.
Goodbye
Goodbye everyone.
night all.
Night.